Hi, my name is Sherry Sidoti, for those who don't know me, and this morning I'm going to speak a little on emotions and feelings. Um, Although the word emotion can be broken down as energy and motion, we have quite a different relationship with emotion and also with our feelings. And before we even begin to get into that, I just wanted to state that, in my opinion, in my experience and in my practice, the one of the biggest gifts that we can offer ourselves and others in relationship that we're with is the sacred and safe space to have whatever experience we're having in any given moment in time, and just the simple space to have that experience without the desire or the need to overcome it and turn that experience into another one. Because ultimately, it's just another experience that we're having. So we might as well stick with the one that's seeking us, right? So emotion, particularly when we stake a claim of an emotion and we use these two very potent words, I am, prior to whatever emotion we're feeling, it has a very solid and almost stuck energy to it. So if I say, for example, I am sad, or I am angry, I am jealous, I am nervous, etc., it starts to penetrate our being in a very solid state, in a very rigid format that doesn't have a whole lot of space to move and grow or change or be whatever it wants to be. It starts to affect our physical being. It might give us tension in our body. It starts to affect our breathing patterns, and thus our energy changes. It will keep our thoughts and our headspace in a very stubborn place. And in that emotion, whatever that emotion is that we're claiming as, it will start to affect our decision making and our behavior patterns and ultimately our actions towards ourselves and towards others. And that can be a very non-useful way to experience our current state of being, right? On the other side, a feeling has more of a fluid, water-like or liquid quality to it. That a feeling is something that comes and it goes, it washes, right? It moves through us, and it has the capacity to transmute and become something else. Both our state of being, our emotional state, and the feelings that we have within that emotional state are trying to teach us something. They're trying to get our attention enough to take us on a journey within that is extremely worthwhile and very important that we go on with some willingness instead of like hanging on to the shore and resisting it. So in order to do that, I've kind of come up with my own little process, and hopefully it can be useful to you. But the first thing that I would do is to take away the words I am with an emotion attached to it and just switch it out for I feel. So it has a very different quality. I am sad, for example. I am sad, right? It's like the whole being is taken on that expression. Very, very different than I feel sad, right? I feel sad has more capacity to flow, to move, to be what it needs to be, and then go onward. The second thing that I would do when I'm in a very rigid and stuck place is to ask myself, where in my physical body do I feel it? Because that's going to give me a lot of information. Sometimes I'm having an experience that I feel very much in my head, and you just want to like hold your head. Sometimes it's in the belly, and you kind of feel your whole body closing around your belly. Sometimes it's in the chest, right? So for example, instead of saying I am sad, if I'm using sadness as an example, I could say I feel sad, and then I can say I feel sad. And just by taking my hand to my chest, I'm recognizing or acknowledging that this is the place in my body where it lives. The next thing that I might want to do, right, the third step, I think we're on 3, is to start to be able to define or understand, right, what's happening in that part of the body. So we can describe a feeling, or we could describe where it is and go, it feels like broken glass in my chest, or it feels very heavy like someone's sitting on me, or it feels fast and fluttery, or whatever the actual sensation is. Once I've located it in my body, then I can study that, stay in that space in my own physical being for a few breaths even, to be able to address the type of sensation that lives in there. So what was once I am sad as a state of beingness now becomes I feel in my chest broken glass, right? Then we want to stay with that feeling and just watch it and let it kind of tell us what it's trying to tell us, because all of our feelings are really here to take us into deeper places of ourself, so that we can study ourselves and act from a very soulful and sacred and spirited version of ourselves versus ego and a hard-headed entry into life and into our relationships. So if I stay in emotion, I am sad, then I'm going to want to hook into the story that made me feel that way, right? I'm going to want to go into the he said, she said, I did this, he did this, she did this. And I'm also going to then spiral down the whole rabbit hole of trying to figure out why and what to do about it, right? That takes me out of myself, really, and into either the past or the future. And it doesn't allow the healing that the feeling wants to give me in the present moment. So I have to keep coming back to the present moment. I feel sad. I feel sadness in my chest. That sadness feels like hollow or feels like glass breaking, right? What does that glass breaking feeling really feel like? And I can continue to kind of go under and under and deeper and deeper and deeper into the feeling. That's one way to address it and really question, it feels like when it feels like glass is breaking my chest, my shoulders went around and I want to protect myself. And when I protect myself, that makes me feel unsafe. And when I feel unsafe, I feel alone. And when I feel alone, I feel unworthy. And when I feel unworthy, I feel, we get the point. We can just kind of keep going into the deepest parts of ourselves that are actually really just trying to speak to us through our life experiences that we're having. That's one way. The other thing that we can do is just stay there. Just locate, maybe define the sensation in there. So again, back to my example, I feel sad in my chest and it feels like broken glass. And then just wait there, just rest there, take some time and be there long enough so that I can start to see what's there to show me, that wants to show me something. So much like a hunter goes into the woods to hunt down its prey, right? We're doing that with our inner feeling and we're tracking it. So if a hunter is going out on a hunt, he or she is not going to just, ram into the woods and start open fire in the woods to get its animal prey. It's going to go in there with all the gear that it needs for that environment and, that time of the day, etc. Set up camp and take some time to just sit at camp, stabilize enough in one place so that it can observe the behavior pattern of its prey, so that it knows how fast it moves, when it seeks food, how it communicates with other animals, etc., so that when it's time to open fire, its target or its prey it's more of a successful hunt than just randomly open fire. So often with our feelings, we're going into the woods and we're opening fire. What we really want to do is set up camp, get to know our environment enough in there, and watch slightly behind the feeling so that we get to know it. In essence, just like the hunter is getting to know its prey, its animal, we too are getting to know our inner animal. We've forgotten somewhere along the way that we are organic, that we're beasts, that we are animals by nature, that we are deeply rooted to our natural cycles. And All we need to do is remind ourselves to stay present and study the inner animal enough so that we can begin to let feelings have the space that they need to become something else. Because the feeling of broken glass, chances are, in my chest, which I equate as sadness, minus the story, will eventually soften and become something else if I breathe with it and stay with it and allow it to be until it no longer wants to be. So I think a detrimental thing that we often say to one another is to let it go, whatever it might be. And in my understanding and my experience with myself, I have often said, if I could let it go, I would. Obviously, whatever the it is not ready to go until it's ready to go. So if I give it some compassion, some sacred space, some softness, and most importantly, breath and awareness, consciousness, like a deep respect, then that thing, if I let it, for example, forget the let it go, but if I just let it, eventually, whatever the it is, will go. It will transmute. It will become something else. It'll become a different feeling, or that feeling will have a different sensation to it, and thus it will inform then moving through ourselves and moving out of that experience enough. It will inform our thoughts and our mood and our speech, things we say, our talk, right? It will inform our behavior. It will inform our actions. So it will inform us about ourselves, but it will also help in our relationships, hopefully. So I hope that this is useful to you. I genuinely feel we have to feel our experiences to heal them. So we have to feel it to heal it. That does not mean we have to go into the story, right? That takes us out of the feeling. We just have to rest and let. And eventually it will become something else. And in that journey of staying compassionate and intimate enough with our own feelings, we really, really learn a lot about ourselves and all the reactive behavior and the ways that we want to project our life scenarios outwards starts to soften, just enough. Maybe not always, but maybe not right away, but eventually with a little bit of technique and practice and breath and sacred space and self-love, we can pull and go down into the feeling of it enough so that moving forward in our life, those scenarios that take place will be addressed from a more spirited and sacred